Hi guys, this is my first editing tutorial and I'm going to be showing you how I edited my recent post of the lighthouse from Ractory Head. What I like to do first is straighten the horizon using the angle tool. Boom. Next I'll change the crop to 1:1 and this will help me line it up how it's going to appear on my feed. And then I'll change it to 4:5, hit the X key and position so it's center frame. Hold in ALT and drag it out and hit enter. So now that's it all cropped, I'm going to start by adjusting my exposure. You can see it's a little bit underexposed slightly, so I'm going to put it up a little bit. I'm going to adjust my white balance, make it slightly warm. Yeah, but that's fine. I'm going to keep bring the tint down a little bit. Yep, and let's see. I'm going to get the highlights, I'm going to drag them right down. I'm going to boost the shadows. So it feels fine. I'm going to play with the whites. And also I'm going to lift the blacks to 46, that will do fine. What I then like to do is bring the clarity down a little bit. That gives the image a slightly dreamy feel to it. Right, next is onto the tone curve. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 points in just now. Okay, you can see now that that's slightly overexposed, so I'm going to bring it down a tad. Yeah, that's a bit fine there. Next I'm moving on to the HSL sliders, that's the hue, saturation and luminance. I'm going to start by getting the reds, I'm going to bring them down to about -15. Orange -5. I want that sand to be orange. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my fans in the background, but they're going wild. Pop that up, and -5 I think for the blues. Onto the saturation now, I'm going to take the reds down. Pop the orange just a tad. Pop the yellows quite a bit. 19. That's fine. Bring the greens down, just make sure there's no green tint anyway, but I'll bring it down just to eliminate that. I'll leave the aqua as it is. Desaturate the blues a bit. Pull out the purples and the magentas. Luminance, put that 26 is fine. Orange, 10 is fine. +15 is fine. Well, 16. Aquas. I'll leave the rest where it is. I'm going to pop in some split tone in here, so I'm going to make the highlights more blue. That's fine. Also I'm going to check my white balance and again, should be fine. Yep. Split tone is fine. Moving on to the detail tab, we're going to be adding some noise reduction. This will reduce the amount of grain visible. 30 is a nice number I like to use. We're going to add in some sharpening. And if you hold in the Alt key on the masking and drag it up, and that just makes the edges of your image sharp. Well, that's fine. Right, moving on to lens corrections. Just going to leave that as it is. I'm going to leave that as it is. I always like to add a slight vignette to my image. This helps draw the eye in to the subject. Now down to camera calibration, I'm going to be adding the red hue. I'm going to play around with that. Plus 20 looks okay. I'm going to shift this ever so slightly. See what it's doing there? Let's add some saturation into the sky slightly and the sand, so don't want to be too much, just subtle. And we're going to play around with the blue hues as well. You can shift that. Ooh, yeah. Minus 20 is fine. And that's it for the basic adjustments. Moving on, I'm going to do more selective adjustments now, using these tools up the top. So, first things first, we're going to get the spot removing tool. And we're just going to stamp out all the distractions here on the beach. Oh, that one's taken in there. Right. Boom, boom. There we go. A couple here. Boom. Don't know if you can notice, but in here there's a little tiny boat. So I'm going to crop all the way in here. This was the boat that photobombed me the other day. I'll just change this out a little bit. Boom, there we go. I think there's a few wee marks on the lighthouse I'm going to tidy up as well, using the spot removal tool. Couple more bits and bobs. Okay, that's me pretty much tidied up the image a little bit. Then I'm going to get the brush tool and I'm going to brush in some clarity and texture. This is going to help make the subject stand out and pop. So keep it out. There you go. I'm just going to brush that in right over the subject. Press O key and it brings up your mask so you know exactly what you've painted over. You just get the erase key and erase the sides if you go outside the edge. It's important to have auto mask turned on because that will help keep it in the lines. Okay. I'm going to get another brush now and I'm going to get some whites. If you got my newsletter, I explain this technique. This is a dodge and burn technique that I like to use. So this is going to make the lighthouse bright. I'm going to brush that in here. That'll make the whites pop out. So this is called dodging. Again, if you go outside the lines, just get the eraser and just erase the bits you go over. Like so. Which is, to get the eraser, it's down here on the right hand side. Next I'm going to get another brush. Now I'm going to get the saturation, painting some saturation on the top of the lighthouse. Just going to help the colours stand out a bit of the paint up here. Painting some saturation now. There we go. And I'm also going to get the burn brush, which is just a brush with the exposure turned down ever so slightly. And it's going to make the kind of darker areas a bit more darker, like the windows and stuff. And this will help add more definition to your image. Make certain areas pop. Another little technique I like to use is getting a radial filter, drawing it over the subject, and putting a negative clarity mask over it. So this also helps draw the focus and draw the viewer's eyes to the subject more. I've just got that turned down to -51 and my feather's at 50. I'm just going to position that so the subject's clear. Like so. Press O again to turn the mask off. And that's about it. Yeah, and that's it. Well, sorry, what I actually done as well, I used my dodge brush and I brushed in some whites just in here. And that's about it. That's pretty much how I edited my Rat Ray Head Lightroom photo. Hope you like this. If you want to see more, drop me a DM, let me know. Cheers.